Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? I have one clip to watch. Fairly short clip, so I don't think this video will be a long video, but it's happened again, ladies and gentlemen. The reality of inter-ethnicity violence compared to what the New York Times want you to believe it is, especially this anti-Asian violence which they were trying to push in the wake of coronavirus. They were trying to use it. This is a can of worms they opened that they are now regretting they opened, right? Like they do a lot of the time. They tried to push in the wake of coronavirus the idea that this mythical white supremacy is now targeting Asian people or people of Oriental Chinese descent, because we somehow blame them for it, which of course we do not. We don't blame your average Chinese person who lives on our streets for anything that happened. We don't even know whether it did come out of the lab in Wuhan. Even if it did, that doesn't mean it's the fault of the people who run the Chinese takeaway down the road. It's not their fault. You see, us conservatives, we don't think like that. We don't blame people en masse. We don't believe in the concept of blood crimes. These are all things the left do, and it's so entrenched in their mentality, they will open that can of worms and immediately try and assign it to you because they think it's natural. They think it's just normal to do that. We started fighting back, and we started showing people that the real Asian violence comes largely, I'm afraid to say, from African Americans. Certainly in the United States. It happens. We keep seeing it again and again and again. No matter how many times they try and suppress it, they try and put stupid Snopes fact checks on it, and so on and so on. This is the latest one. This man down here, you can see he's an African American man. We're about to watch this clip, and he just assaults she's not exactly an elderly Chinese woman, but she's upper middle age. She's small, typical kind of grandmother, Chinese grandmother, and he pelts her straight in the face, unprovoked, without warning. So let's check this video out. We'll get into this now. If you haven't yet, please like this video if you find it informative. It's certainly not going to be an entertaining video, but hopefully it will inform people of the reality, what's going on. We are on YouTube and BitChute. You can subscribe to the Hoggcast on either of those platforms. But either way, the best thing you can do is to share this video around social media. Friends, families, and especially the normies. We are shadow banned, demonetized, and reduced as conservative commentators. We are not welcome on this platform. We and our opposing views are not welcome by the establishment. So the only way to combat that is to share it around, because we don't get recommended like we used to. Anyway, let's go. And there it is. So here's the man here. As you can see, she was walking by, and out of the blue, it's always a sucker punch, isn't it? Always a sucker punch. I remember seeing one where it wasn't anti-Asian violence. It was an African American man who attacked an elderly white man in a supermarket in the United States somewhere, in a big superstore like Target or somewhere like that, Walmart, and he came behind the elderly man and just pummeled him into nothing, basically. It's always one of these sucker punches. So we'll fast forward it a bit because I don't want to show the bit where it connects. So there she's holding her face, and we'll continue it from here.
What is it?
So it's important to say, because on Twitter some people are saying he's saying, why did you hit me for? For one, she never hit anyone, right? Secondly, yes, you do, and we'll go back and watch. At the start of the clip, about 10-15 seconds into it, you do hear a thud noise off camera, right? Don't know what he's done to whoever it was off of the camera, but regardless of what it is, saying if he insulted him in the most egregious way doesn't give you the right to then attack the woman who had nothing to do with it, right? How is that justice? How is that even an adequate response to whatever it was the man off the camera supposedly did to you? And that's even if we are accepting the premise that that thud sound was someone hitting him. So let's go back, we'll watch again. And it's just amazing, because imagine if all of the Asian people here were African American, and that one African American man was a white man, for example, and imagine if he had done that to a black woman. We're not even going to go into the whole, imagine the uproar from the left and the mainstream media. We know that, that's a given. But imagine the reaction of all the other people, especially the men. Imagine what they would do if it was the other way around. They wouldn't just sit there and stand there and do nothing, would they? So let's go back. Okay, so I hope my camera picked that up. You can see them now looking over here, and you heard a thud sound. So something happened off camera. We'll go back and listen again. And then he reacts and takes it out on the woman, whatever it was that happened off screen. So there he's saying, what did you hit me for? What does that have to do with her? Why would you hit her? Because she's a woman? Because she's weaker than you? So if someone did hit him off camera, instead of defending himself, he turns and attacks a woman. Why would you do that? Why is this person even here anyway? And what has he done, or what did he do, to result in these peaceful people hitting him, whether they did or not? It was off camera, we don't know. Yes, I'll give him credit, you do hear a thud sound, and then he does say, what did you hit me for? But that was off camera. We can't debate that with any accuracy, but we can see that a woman who had nothing to do with it gets smacked straight in the face, and she's obviously in shock, and that's his logical response to whatever it was that happened off screen. This is a microcosm of, for example, take Black Lives Matter. The way they view the world, the way they react to the world, the way they react to problems, whether they're problems of their own making or whether they're not problems of their own making. But their reaction is to always blame someone else. Their response is to always look for someone else to hold accountable for what they've done. And this is a microcosm of that. She's getting on in years. She looks to me like she's mid. It's hard to tell because she's got the face covering on, but she's got that Chinese grandmother look about her. She's certainly not a fighting man. And I think really that's why you decided to hit her. And it's always one of these sickening thuds, these kind of crunching attacks, sucker punch attacks that kind of knocks these elderly people off their feet. I mean, how can you do that? And why is he here anyway? What's he lurking around for? Right? But I'll go back. I stand by my original statement. This is a can of worms the left have opened, hoping to pin so-called anti-Asian crimes or hate on people that look like me. They opened that can of worms because they wanted to add another label onto Trump supporters. They want to say, oh, they are so desperate for hate that they will manufacture it. But when they opened this can of worms, it turned around and bit them on the backside. Because it turns out the people who have been doing this, who have always had a very low opinion of Asian people, are, I'm afraid to say, the African American community. Not exclusively, but we do keep seeing this type of thing again and again and again. It's a pattern, and that is one thing that conservatives have that leftists don't, which is pattern recognition. We recognise patterns when they happen, and we call them out when we do. The left's response to this tactic, they have no adequate argument to come back, no rebuttal, so they just try and silence us. They try to, well, we'll shut him up. We'll smear him so he can't say anything. That's their response in general to most things. You see this kind of manufactured hate. I'm sure you've heard. If you haven't heard about it, this would normally make you laugh if it wasn't so serious. But there's a new Amazon fulfillment center opening up in the United States. I think it's in Windsor. I don't know what state it's in, but it's in a city or a town called Windsor. And they found some rope pulls which are used. It's a certain type of knot tied in a rope. They do this on construction sites. I used to be a labourer back in my teenage years, and I've worked at Amazon fulfillment centres. When the one in my town was new. They do this to haul tools and other supplies up to the mezzanine floor as they're constructing the mezzanine floor. So these people are so desperate to manufacture hate. They found 7 ropes, pulleys, in this Amazon construction site in Windsor, and they've called them nooses. So much so that even the chief of police in the town issued a press conference. Instead of denying this and laughing about it, he's fully in there. They're offering cash rewards for information. There's going to be a young labourer who's going to go to prison probably for 5 or 6 years or longer and have his life and reputation destroyed over an imaginary noose. And meanwhile, whilst people are saying, oh, how bad it is that a group of Mexican workers at Amazon on the construction site are building nooses all over the place, secret nooses, whilst that imaginary hate is being, quote, perpetuated, end quote, we have very real hate here. This is real. This isn't imaginary rope pulley tie nooses, garage pulls. This is real. Yeah, what does the mainstream media talk about? The imaginary nooses. Anyway, look, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about this sorry state of affairs in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. You can subscribe to the Hoggcast on YouTube and BitChute. We're on both platforms. The best thing you can do, though, however, is take a few moments to share this around social media and to the normies and so on. We are shadow banned, reduced and demonetized. We don't get recommended, so if you could do that, it certainly would keep our morale up, because we we're not welcome on YouTube. I mean, that's conservative commentators are just not welcome here. That's the reality. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.